I remember I was so stressed out. I'm like, if we don't kill this, they'll never let me do it again. I want to do this so fucking good that they have no choice but to give me the opens forever. And thankfully, that's what happened. Like, thankfully, it was kind of good. And they, like, I just do that now. I, like, cut out a life where all I do is the opens, 30, 40 hype videos a year, and, like, the big brand spots.
So this is episode 3 of... I don't have a name for
whatever this is called.
Whatever this is called. I have it as the Sports Creator Showcase. So this is episode 3 of that. Again, if someone has a better name for that, just put that down below. I'll consider it. I have here a very special guest. You go by many names: the Spice King, the Spice Lord, the Spice Wizard. Lots of spice.
I think I'm nailing down on Spice King.
Yes.
Spice Lord gets into that religious area.
Okay. But very, very special guest, Taylor. I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
Iannarilli, but no one's ever been able to say that, to be fair. Yeah, so
okay.
We're all good.
So Taylor is a producer for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Argos here in Toronto, obviously, since we're in the city. I'll let you do a little bit of your own introduction. You know, who you are, where you're from, how long you've been in the industry, and what you're currently doing.
Yeah, so I started this little journey, I guess officially back in 2014 when I started with the Ticats. But I guess it really goes farther back than that. To do like the quick summary, I think it was whenever the hell you're in high school. But like grade 10 or 11, I did not like sports growing up. I fucking hate sports because when you're shit something, you don't like it naturally.
Yeah.
And then grade 9 or grade 11, somewhere in there, I saw NFL films for the first time, and I was like, holy shit, like that is. Want to do that.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, 100%. And even back then, maybe I didn't even fully know that because I always loved film and I was an actor. So I was like, I'll go to film school. Went to film school. Even though I wore a fedora my first fucking year, I definitely wasn't one of those artsy fuckers. Like I could tell, like I was an outlier, and not in a good way. Because everyone wants to be like, oh, I'm special kind of thing. I'm unique. But like I was like, yeah, like I don't really want to make depressing short films for like 15 years to maybe get a chance to make like one shitty feature. Like. I was just like, this isn't for me. I 100% want to do sports. Got out of school. Like I think I made a couple sport things. That's what kills me about people your age, is you guys are starting this so much earlier than I did. Like I made a couple. I played dodgeball at Humber Lakeshore. That's where I went to film school, which was awesome. Learned not a lot, but made some great friends. So that so I won't take that back.
How long have you been doing this for now?
I think this is 11 or 12 years, I would say.
So you're a veteran in comparison to me. Like you've seen done.
I'm Ron Hainsey. I'm like old. I've been in the league a long time, and I'm jaded as fuck. Yeah. I would say that's where I'm at. Okay. But I did film out of school for a little bit, and I was working at the OMA, which is like the Ontario Medical Association. My dodgeball coach, Victor Gravilli, got me the job. Okay. So like I'd go to hospitals and shoot little mini docs on docs, which I didn't call it that, which would have made so much more fucking sense. But I hated it, and because I hate hospitals, so that was not a good situation. So I quit, and I was doing film. And one day I was just fed up, and I just went down to the CFL head office, like printed off like 4 or 5 resumes, just went downtown Toronto, and like I was at the OMA at the time. I just left work, left for the whole afternoon. I walked in the CFL office. I had Googled their business ops, and God, I can't believe I forget his name, but I found the guy's desk and like left a resume there. And I was just like, okay, like just need to get in. Did the whole thing with the CFL. Went down to the final interview. This is a big reason for young guys. I always tell them don't swear. If you can't, swear once you're in, because I find the people that swear, they're more like truthful, I guess.
They come across as more like real. But
like the 2 guys I was chummy with, they were good. And there was this 3rd guy that was just like fucking this the entire interview. And I was like, I'm not fucking hitting it with him. And then they went off about the NFL, and I said, fuck Tom Brady during the interview. Got a call like a week later, like, yeah, we're going to go with another guy. And I was like, was it because I said fuck Tom Brady?
Don't say fuck Tom Brady in your interviews. Yeah, I would not suggest that.
100%. So I didn't get that. Went to the interview with the Ticats. I remember I got there like 4 hours early, so I was like sleeping in my car outside when they were building the stadium, which is crazy because like now I live there, like a stone's throw away from the stadium. Went to the final interview, didn't get that. Interview at the Argos, where I now currently work. Went to the final interview, didn't get that. But it was like they wanted this is where how crazy it's changed over the years. Back then, they wanted a content creator / communications professional. So like literally what Kruger does now, like doing all the tweets, all like the media stuff, and also shoots the content. And I was
Shout out Adam Kruger, Argos legend,
absolute Argos
Winnipeg
legend.
Jets current content director
of content. Even
Maybe when he's in the city, I'll get him back.
Yeah, he's a sack of shit because he left me. But other than that,
so just to kind of give people an idea here, you started off. Obviously, you went to the Ticats.
Eventually got the call for the Ticats.
Yeah. And then you were there for how long now?
I was there for 4 seasons. First season, like, and for someone that's like grown up wanting to be in football, it was the most magical. That first year, we were like 2-7, and then we opened our stadium mid-season, like, and it was like still like not even complete. And we went undefeated at home and went to the Grey Cup. So I'm like 21 years old or something like that, on the plane with the players going to the Grey Cup. We comes down to the final play. We get this massive magical kick return, and I thought we had won the Grey Cup, and we lost. And that's like, there was a flag in the play. Taylor Reed got blocking the
You'll
back.
never forget those moments.
No, and like that's like I was telling you about it. Like that's like one of like I'm not a super emotional guy, but that is like I teared up after like walking out. I was like, fuck, this sucks, because it was so magical.
I think people forget that like when you work for the team, like you feel that you get 100%. into it and you feel that. I remember with the Argos last year when they lost in the East Final. I'm like,
I was devastated.
Sucks.
Like, and I think it's different in the like that's why I love the CFL, because like you really get established, like, you know, you're not like best friends with the guys, but you talk to these guys, versus like other sports where like you see them, like for the Leafs, people always are like, oh, how was Austin? I was like, well, fuck, I see him for like 6 minutes on media day and maybe one other shoot a year. It's not like I really have a relationship with those guys. Versus CFL, it's like, it's a very different world, which I love. And like,
they're just, I think the CFL, like, they're just normal guys.
They're just normal guys, and
trying
like,
to survive.
And in terms of your content creator, like, they want to do stuff for them.
It helps them a lot more.
Yeah, like, and they also like, they kind of get it. Like, it's a team thing. Like, it's a lot, and I don't know. It's just a lot easier, and that's why, like, when I came to MLSE, I was so happy. So I initially started as a motion designer, but then eventually transitioned to a LEAFS producer. And when we did that, I think when I was still a motion designer, MLSE bought the Argos. And like straight up to this day, like, gun to my head, if I had to choose one of the two teams, I would do the Argos over the Leafs. And that's nothing on the Leafs. I love doing the stuff I do for them. It's just the like CFL's always like been super part of my identity, I guess, in a way. So it was like the whole COVID year, like, I genuinely thought the league was going under, and I was like, fuck, this sucks.
Yeah. So taking a few steps back here to the Ticats, so you were there for 4 seasons. You were I was like, buck, roughly around when I started, 21 years old.
I was 60 pounds ago.
And how was the facial hair back then? Did you have the beard?
I think I had a beard, but like my one buddy, like, I was again like super tied with the team, so we finally lost a home game, and for the first time in like 6 years, I shaved my beard completely off, and like I think it scared him genuinely when he came back to.
You look like a bait, like a
I looked like I was 5.
Jesus.
But also, like, I grew my beard out because I was like feeling like ageism, I guess. And I feel like that's a big
I feel that too. I mean, I think there's. I mean, before maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I think now the industry is way more open to the younger.
It is.
But versus like 5 years ago, when the social media thing wasn't really a thing in sports, people were like, "Oh, like, you're just a kid." Like,
100%.
You know what I mean? So like, I totally get where you're coming from.
So that's why I grew the beard.
Yeah,
just
okay.
so I could like look a little older than like when I was like 15 with like peach fuzz kind of thing, or clean shaven. So
you go from the Ticats, you're there for 4 years. You kind of made a name for yourself in the CFL. We were talking right before the podcast, and you said that, like, you know, you kind of you put your kind of dagger, and you put your dagger in the sand.
I thought it was king shit. Absolute. Like, I thought, like, I don't know if there's like an advice thing at the end of this.
There is, but
like one of them, like I learned the hard way, was like envy. Pride and envy will fucking kill you, especially like early on in your career. Because like I think in my 3rd season, like, because the reality was like the rest of the league wasn't really doing a lot of stuff. There was a few good guys, but like it wasn't like, and there's only 9 teams, but it was like 3 of us were doing this like actual quality stuff. So I felt like God, like God's gift to like the CFL. And then I met with this fucking piece of shit buddy of mine. now a buddy, Alex Anthony. He did the Argos for a few years. So he was a wide receiver for Sask, and he's like,
oh, he played?
He played for 3 years.
Oh,
yeah,
I had no idea.
So when he finished up playing, he messaged me, and we met at Starbucks down here in Toronto. And he's like, oh, like, I love your stuff. I want to get into the league. And I was like, well, fuck, the Argos, like, I know they just lost a guy, I think. So why don't you, like, try and get in there? And I think he worked at an editing studio for a little bit. And then he switched over to the Argos, which was the worst fucking thing ever because he was doing awesome stuff. And I was like, fuck, like.
You taking a job,
you took my fucking throne, dude. Fuck.
No, he made some unbelievable. That was like what, when the Argos won in 2017.
Yeah, he was making like Oscar-winning films.
Yeah, they were unbelievable. I don't understand.
And not to give myself an excuse, it was just like at that point I had gone so much more into After Effects that like I was redoing our in-game show so much, like updating all the graphics and trying all this different stuff. So like I'd see him put like this magnificent documentary in like 3 days, and I was like, fuck, like I have to make like 400 LEDs for the game Saturday. Like I don't even have the opportunity anymore to make that stuff. And even if I did, what I loved about that and I kind of miss is like I always had a young team, so I wanted like if there was a hype video to be made, I wanted the young guys to have the opportunity to do that. Like the only thing I was like, fuck you, I'm doing this, was the intro videos. Like if there was an intro video that he had, I was like, fuck you, get out of town, I'm making this goddamn thing. Like but no, yeah, pride and envy will absolutely, if you look like, and I'm over it now because I'm jaded and older, but like even fucking you, like you like I look at your stuff and I'm like, fuck, like you just feel like in the back of your head you're like, I'm falling behind. Like how the fuck are all these young guys and
but
girls,
like in our minds we're just trying to get, like I've always said to you, I'm trying to get to where you are. For context, for the viewers, we actually previously worked together. I mean, you were technically 3 years.
3 years.
I was at MLSC as a video editor, and I worked under this gentleman, and that was my whole introduction into Hype Video Central. Like I knew I wanted to do it before, and then he's like, "Hey, do you want to?"
You really transition from like a
basic
editor, shooter, casual, like morally graphic design to now being like a spice factory yourself.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree. I'm still trying to reach your level, but like for context, I worked for 3 years under him. I learned the ways of the spice. A spice Padawan, I think.
The Spice Menage.
Spice Menage. Before we continue on your journey, I think this podcast is going to be all over the fucking map. What's the deal with the spice like joke? Like, I know that's your thing, and then I've kind of like taken it and made like joke around with it, but like it's a thing.
I know.
So like, who started this spice? For context, spice is just a really sick hype, like just like sick hype videos. Like,
so it definitely was something I started at the Thai Cats, where like I would have like an intern like Keiko or something like that. He showed me a video. I was like, shit, that is spicy. Like I think that's how it started, and then it got to a point where like I was getting more and more integrated with After Effects, and it just kept on like evolving, like kind of my style. And so when I would see cuts, I would say like could use a little more spice, like because a little more like even my brother, I remember like he went to the Thai Cats games after I left. He's like, they don't even do anything, it's just a straight edit. I was like, yeah, it needs spice. Like you need to have like I don't know, because like even now I find like I'm getting a little lazy with it, to be honest with you. Like more so getting to more documentary and just straight cutting, like not really doing a lot of effects. But I think I had such a passion for After Effects before the Thai Cats, like before sports. I loved doing like when I was in school, we had like thesis films, and I think I did like 5 or 6 of like the 7 films credit sequences, because I was like, why the fuck would you spend so much time and effort on 99% of the movie and then have New Times Roman at the end of it? Like might as well make it look nice. So I think once I got to football, like to the Thai Cats specifically, no one knew how to use After Effects there, so I got more and more better at it, thinking I was a god at it, and it just was like, okay, I can integrate these two things. Like, and like I didn't really know at the time, and then when I started as a motion designer at the LEAFS, our creative director Kevin Mones, degenerate of a human being, like he works 140 hours a week. I don't know when he sees his kids, and he's aged about 40 years since I met him 4 years ago. But he said to me, and something I like keep to this day, is like, make every frame a picture. So if you pause on your, like, don't, like, I fucking despise, and I'm sorry I'm swearing a lot, I hate abusive amounts of motion blur.
You do.
Yeah, I do. Like, I want, it's not like literally like every frame you can pause on, but you should be able to pause on a frame
and make it look nice.
And it should look nice, yeah. And it's why I love like this, which every person, I think we talk about Spider-Verse.
Yes, into the Spider-Verse.
Where
you
like
can pause every single frame. And it's actually like it's so each frame is so unique.
Yeah, and the
way they shot it.
Yeah.
The way they animate. I think it was like the frame rate or something.
Yeah, because they animate him on 2s till he becomes Spider-Man. Then they animate him on 1s. So 2s is like
there's a skip.
Yeah, pretty much like you're animating him 12 frames per second. And the Peter P. Parker, who I feel like I'm turning into.
This is the Spider-Verse. You're Peter B. Parker.
I'm 100% Peter B. Parker. They animated him like 24 frames. But then like when they're like swinging in like the woods in that scene, as he's like swinging, they start animating him on 1s. And then they go back to who's when he fails kind of thing. And they talk about there's no more blur. They use smudges and streaks. So it's not like they're just throwing like a motion blur.
It's on purpose.
Yeah, everything's intentional. And I think with like the content and like we talked about before, like my baby, like, and this is like going when you're a kid, like I love intro videos. I think like when you walk into a stadium, that was my favorite part. I have a fetish for stadiums. I have a fetish for intro videos. Like I love walking around a stadium, seeing like the layout, and I love intro videos because it just like sets the stage for the night. I think that should be if the game is a 6-0 like slobber knocker for the away team,
at least you saw the
you felt like you could conquer the world. After the intro
you want to make people run through a wall, and I think that's like when I started getting into this, the biggest thing that like attracted me was like the hype videos you'd see in stadiums. That was it for me. Like I went to school for this, and it was all that. Like I learned my thing, but then when I started seeing this and all the heavy production going into it, I'm like, I want to know how to do that. That was and it wasn't even social media back then. Yeah. This was like on YouTube, on Vimeo, on like fucking what, like I've sent you Triglass stuff. I've sent you Triglass. We've talked about this. Yeah. So I remember when I was at MLSE and I met him, you were the guy doing that, and I in my mind I'm like, hey, I need to get in the room with this guy.
Yeah.
And I remember when we started working together, it would have been like 4 summers ago with the Argos.
Yes.
And I think it was like a one-time thing you guys wanted me to do was like what was that?
It was like a halftime opener show.
No, it was like a social show. I can't remember what it was called.
Cover 2, I think it was. Oh, the spread.
The spread.
There we go.
So I did the spread, this show for the Argos. And I remember seeing one of your LEAFS stars, okay, I'm going to try something like this. Yep. And it's probably fucking horrible. Like, it was probably shit. But it impressed you. I was like, I want to work with you more.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, like, it was, like, you and Kiana. I don't know if you remember her.
I remember Kiana.
But, like, those were, like, anytime, like, I needed, like, editors for the Argos, I was like, I want these 2 guys. And, like, it's, like, also, like, it's how I still feel about the Argos. I feel like it's a great opportunity for young people to just, like, fuck around, like, and make cool stuff. Like,
but that's what I did last season. I mean,
exactly.
They brought me on. Adam brought me on, and I just did what I
made content.
I made content, no matter what it was, and I think it works out. And I think I've experienced this with the NHL in certain places. Like, depending on the situation, like you might not be allowed to go past certain brand guidelines and certain things.
Right? The bigger it is, the less you can.
And the more eyes are on it. Versus like the CFL and the Argos, like it's still a professional league, but it's not the NFL. And it's unfortunately
it's a super professional league, but they've gone through like
there's opportunity. It's like the CEB, the
CEBL,
you have opportunity, which is great for content creators.
If you're like a young content creator, like and Canadian, especially because I think it's tough sledding if you're Canadian in this field.
It's really difficult
because you have a world just south of us where there is no shortage.
New York has like 12 professional teams in one state. And then in Canada, we have the Canucks, the Oilers, the Flames, the Jets, the Leafs, the Senators, the Canadiens. And that's just hockey. And then one basketball team,
one baseball team, 9
CFL teams. 9 CFL teams and 3 MLS teams.
It's just not even comparable.
Yeah.
Because even like colleges. And I'm not even talking like Alabama. I'm talking like D2, D3.
Yeah, and
they still have social people,
and they've been doing great.
And coaches have seen too now where
the benefit
because it helps with recruiting. You see guys
even at Ryerson, like that was one of the biggest things that like talking to the coaches. It's like even here, it's like people and like when I did the women's basketball stuff last year, like I was talking to coaches and athletes, and they tell me like people see this stuff and people like it, 100%. And especially if you're an athlete who's like. You're pretty good, but you're probably not going to go D2, D1, and then you're like, I want to stay in Canada. that's going to catch your eye. And I think that kind of goes towards what we'll talk about later, which was why you kind of headed the Heartbeats series.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with what Heartbeats are, I'll put some examples here, but any Leafs hype video you've seen in the last 3 years?
4
years now on the Leafs channel, specifically with a lot of blue CRT.
I'm like,
and a lot of
pixel
sorter.
I know.
He's the genius behind that. We'll get into that later, but
no, it's like, but that's literally a thing. Like I've even like towards the end of last season and this season, and I was like I gotta change my shit, like, cause like.
Well, I actually want to ask, one of the questions I have is like your style is so unique because like no one in their right mind before, at least in the NHL.
Oh, 100%.
At least in the NHL. And then I think that's like a big reason as to like you're seeing a lot of teams do like similar things, and some teams more than others are very similar. And you know who I'm talking about.
Oh no, it's St. Louis. I'm gonna talk right now. They didn't hire me 10 years ago.
I might blurt that out, but
no, they didn't hire me 10 years ago. Now they're copying my shit. Fuck them.
So yeah, your sense of your content style is so unique. So like, how did you come up with that? The blue glitches and the motion and the pixel sorter and like the fast paced, like it's like I think I talked to a friend once about it and I described it as just like an overload of visual information.
Yeah, it's every project is a nightmare. Okay. I try to so I basically start the season like where I'm at right now. I start the season. I have this After Effects project that probably takes about 12 minutes to open up because I'm unorganized and it's just create chaos, and I just constantly kind of add to it.
At least this isn't a conversation about habits.
Oh
yeah, I'm the same though.
Yeah. Like I should be better at it. But it started, I guess, going farther back. I was a motion designer for like 11 years. I thought I knew something about After Effects. I found out I know nothing about fucking After Effects once I started meeting like the MLS motion team. It's insane. Like I felt like I was gonna get fired in 3 days. Eventually, I learned a shit ton though about After Effects and like visual effects and stuff like that. Eventually, a lead producer position comes up. I got the opportunity. They gave it to me, but I came halfway through the season, so they gave me. I was doing LNN, like the broadcast stuff, and I have not a clue what I'm doing. So towards the end of the season, I'm like hassling my boss Paul. I'm like, can you let me do the open? Let me do the open, make the hype. So I did the open, and I remember that was the best 3 weeks of my life, or 2 weeks of my life. I met one of my favorite people to work with, Nathan McCormick. He was my partner for most of my Heartbeat series.
The whole time I was there.
And anything that we did, like I did,
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin, or two Batmans, or two Robins. I don't know. Two drunk Robins. But I remember I was so stressed out. I'm like, if we don't kill this, they'll never let me do it again. I want to do this so fucking good that they have no choice but to give me the opens forever. And thankfully, that's what happened. Like, thankfully, it was kind of good. And they, like, I just do that now. I, like, cut out a life where all I do is the opens, 30, 40 hype videos a year, and like the big brand spots. Like, and it worked out, but like that 2 weeks, I was like, I know this is like a pivotal part.
You are essentially the hype guy for the league.
Yeah, I'm the hype guy. So I had to nail it. And then next year, I was talking to Paul. I was like, why don't we do hype videos? Like, we're a sports team. Like, we don't have like a single hype video. Like, we should be like college football. And he's like, yeah, what if we did like one a month? Like, Paul's like, why if we do the fucking A2? I was like, that might be much. So like I think we narrowed it down to like 40.
Can't have too much of a good thing.
Yeah, can't have too much of a good thing. And we did 40 of them, and we did one for Ottawa. And I remember like we sent it up the chain, and I think like Shani was like, what the fuck is this? Kind of thing. Like, and it didn't go out like because it was like not like what we normally posted. Like I like shot, you were there for the behind the scenes. We shot like my brother's a body double, so we can get more like different types of shots than we normally would with the broadcast. And like it was a overload of effects, and I think we did that 2 more times, and neither of them went out. And then we had a meeting with Shani, and he was like super understanding about it, like where he, because I just brought it up, like I hadn't talked to this point, and I'm like fucking like an idiot. Like I feel like
I was gonna say, you did tell me a story once.
Yeah, so we go
about Shani being Brendan Shanahan, the president of the Maple Leafs. We can put this on the internet, right?
Yeah. I grew up watching him play hockey. So we go up to have the meeting, and like, cause it was like almost like a repitch, and I was just like, I think you gotta think about this as like, I do not care about college football 2 years ago. I care about, I follow Clemson, and I follow the Gamecocks, and I follow Alabama.
Because their socials sick.
They make it bigger than life, like their storytelling. and we talked about it, and I think we found like a middle ground where it was like we still wanted to have storytelling in it in terms of like, especially the audio, like
that's the most important thing.
We're doing, but I think we found a middle ground, and I think the next one we did was that Vegas one.
The one with all the chips and the slot. That's my favorite. One of my favorite videos you ever made today.
After that, but that also, like, if the first open punched my ticket, that one fucking cemented it. Because after that, because other teams were like saying, "Holy shit, this is amazing!" I was like, "Fuck yeah, we're off to the races."
I remember on Twitter, it was like, "Who did this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I know who did this."
Well, see, at that point, like, no one was really doing it in hockey, which I thought was stupid. And like, I love it now.
Make hockey hype again.
Yeah, make hockey hype again. Like
that was great. Yeah,
great hashtag. Hasn't taken off.
What happened in that meeting with Chaney? Like, what was that? The pitch? Like,
it was like Paul was like trying to tell him like, "Oh, we're trying to tell a story, but for a younger audience," and like I don't know where it was going. And then like I think I just eventually said, I was like, "Look, we're just trying to make like this." Like the Leafs college football, like this isn't for like people that are Leafs fans, because they're gonna be Leafs fans regardless. We can like lose in the most heart like this year. This like I don't know if this was the most heartbreaking, but like it ripped a lot of fans' hearts out. And I like my grandpa's like, "Oh, I'm done with the Leafs," and like I guarantee you, October he'll be like, "Oh, I'm fired up." Like, you know what I mean? They're gonna be there regardless. You need to grab. I wanted to make something that was flashy to people that are like you're a sports fan. I'm a sports fan. I'll watch anything. I'll watch cricket, underwater basket weaving. I'll watch the hell out of it. But like if I don't know about it, I won't. And that's what college football did me for like, especially Clemson was like outrageous. And like now all those people that did Clemson, they're all like in NFL teams now and like continue to change the game. F1 with Drive to Survive, like this type of content, like I wouldn't have never gone out of my way to watch an F1 race or a college football game. And just, I saw this stuff. They made these stories like one of my biggest pet peeves and loves, not even pet peeve, I just think it's hilarious where it's like English soccer, where it's like, "You couldn't write a script like this." And I'm like, one soccer team beat the other soccer team by 2-1. It's not that fucking like dramatic of a Hollywood script. Like, but you make it feel that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a great, I heard the other day, it was like absolutely Shakespearean. And I was like, oh God, like it is a soccer game. But like, that's how you should feel. I want you like some of my favorite, there was this girl named Lauren Fisher.
I know her. I know who you're talking about.
I've shown you a few times.
She's psychotic in the way she does, like in a good way.
Yeah, she works with a famous group, and I think she's in Atlanta. But she did this like St. Louis Rams Open for like 2 years.
I remember that one.
The second one, and I was like, that is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
The one for me, and I showed you this one because I think everyone has that one piece that you watch. The Seahawks one. They've done a few, but there was one where
they
were in the water.
Yes,
they were in the water and in the forest, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
It turns out it's a lot harder to. Quite difficult to film a guy.
Yeah, because you were inspired by that.
100% inspired.
You guys just put someone in an argument firm, dunked in a pool, and it looked great.
It worked out, but like that guy should have died. We got like a buddy of an editor, a brother of an editor at MLSC. I could not find a tinted visor in Toronto.
Oh God!
And the Argos didn't have a tinted visor, so I found a clear one. And I spray painted it black, so he's completely blind. Like underwater, and he's like straddling a ladder with weights on it, and like two divers holding his like ankles down. And I was like, this has to be the most like we filmed for like 8 hours. Like it must have been the worst experience of his life. And like each time, like, yeah, can we like hold a little longer? And it's like, yeah, he was like a firefighter, so he was great. But like that was like when he's like, I like what we did. I think it was Paul Steinberg was the shooter for that. Like. I remember showing up. I was like, this is not gonna work, and it turned out in the end. But like that Seahawks stuff is psychotic. That's like a whole other level of production, though.
One thing you mentioned, and I think this is the one thing I talked about how I went to university and did the school stuff. The one thing I learned, and that I always keep with me, was an editing class in my second year, third year university. I took an editing course. And my professor at the time said the most important thing, and you just talked about the most important thing when you're editing a video is making sure that the first thing you're thinking about is the emotion that people are going to feel when they see this. And like you described it perfectly, like when you make a hype video, you want people to think they could run through a brick wall.
I want you to think you can take over the world. No, that's a great piece of advice, actually. Like, I think that,
and I think that's the same for like any piece I make now. I'm like, what's the first emotion I want you to feel?
Yeah, no.
Like if I'm doing like, you know, like I did like an Edmonton Oilers piece when they were down 4-0. against the Avs, and I framed it in a way like if you're an Oilers fan, you need to get jacked the hell up for this because it's almost done. You're down 3-0 in the Heat. What you know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest thing like that I've taken away just from hearing that is like your biggest thing is like for a hype video, just make people want to get like hype.
It doesn't always have to be that either. Like I think it always comes to the end of it. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I obviously look at comments because I'm vain. But I don't know views. I have no idea which one of our videos does well. And I think after like 2 years of doing it, like we eventually went through and they're like, what do you think is like the highest ranked one? And I was like, probably like Vegas or maybe like a Boston Saturday night. They're like, no, it was the first time we faced Colorado after we NASM.
Oh, when
so like we opened up with like the first 15 seconds with like I think it was like avalanche, bunch of glitches, probably CRT. But like we focused on like NASM being a Leaf and then becoming
an avalanche,
and like that
now Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah, so it was kind of like emotional at the start, and then like okay, now we got to gear up and kick the shit out of this
Welcome
guy.
back, but like fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, you kind of touched on it there, and I think a big thing that I'm like always surprised by is like you said you do like 40 of these in a year, maybe 20 to 40 of these videos a year.
It probably is around 30.
How do you stay original? Like how do you come up with something? Because like every single video you do has something like you think of something like you hit me up one time and he's like, hey, do you want to go to the aquarium, shoot sharks and fish?
Yeah.
And I'm like, sure. And then he explains, oh, we're doing a hype for the Kraken and the sharks. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. But like that's such outside of the boxing, like going to the aquarium. But again, back to the original question, how do you stay original having to do 20 to 30 videos of the same? It's a hype video.
It's
like,
the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Epic music, glitches, action, goals.
It's very difficult.
Cut. But how do you keep it fresh?
I think multiple things. I think like the first thing I want to say in that, like, because you're kind of like split into two with hockey, with the Leafs. So like Montreal, Boston, Detroit. Those rivalries are established. We know what they're about, and we have 400
million
hours
archives
of videos versus teams like, especially the Kraken. We never played them at that point, or the Sharks, where like I actually
twice a year.
Yeah, I originally like doing the teams that were in our conference because we had so much more footage, and now I prefer to do the teams outside of our conference because they're just you can make them feel like alien worlds compared to Toronto, like Arizona.
You never touch them.
You never touch them, right? And you can. Because it's like if I had a high concept for a Boston series and it didn't really cover what happened in the last game, that wouldn't fly. However, with like, you know, who cares what happened the last time we played Arizona if it was like a nothing game, right? Now I can do whatever the hell I want with it. So like, I think and like Vegas, like I was like, we've played Vegas once, like so I guess I'll.
And you just literally threw everything.
Yeah, I was like gambling, casinos, like just throw it all out there. I think it's honestly something I'm struggling with right now. Before, and like I've told this to a few people, like if you're looking at your league for inspiration, you're doing the dumbest thing in the world.
Look elsewhere.
Yeah, if you're like, you shouldn't like. I follow the other teams in the NHL, and this is not me shitting on them, by the way. Like I think there's like Arizona is like doing unreal stuff. Like that team has no business having that content team if they're going to be playing in that goddamn College Stadium next year. Like they do unreal.
Probably gonna have Austin Matthews in 2 years too.
Shut the fuck up. But so it's not a knock in the league, but if you're looking at the league, you're seeing just what the rest of the people are doing. Like you don't want to be doing what everyone else is doing. Like a big inspiration for me is NFL and Premier League.
The one for me is Formula One, and if you ever checked out Formula One content, like Formula One teams are popping off, and like I remember when I was at the Heritage Classic, I took inspiration from a video Aston Martin did. It was just smooth looks, clean, cinematic, EDM music, which I mean, I think you and I are prone to using the big...
Yeah, maybe a little bit. The Inception fog.
Yeah, but I said, okay, I like this, and I tried it, and it worked. So, like, I think you really good points. Like, if you're looking for inspiration, don't look in your sport.
No.
Look somewhere else.
Like, even, like... just in movies and stuff like that, like I cannot fathom how this was approved. Like I've had like so many other videos, like I've had a bunch of other videos that like weren't approved.
I know, yeah.
And then I think you know where I'm going with this. I made like a satanic hype video this year where it had
for
like
the Devils.
Yeah, for the Devils, and I used like the speech from Liam Neeson from Gangs of New York, and it's like Saint Michael's prayer, and I was like there was like a 2-second shot of like a cross on fire, like. and like I'm like working on it.
And Shani's like, yeah, let's roll with it.
No, it was sick. And like, So we sent I sent it out. I was like, yeah, that's never seen the light of day.
How do you come up with that? Like, how the hell do you?
I'm a massive movie guy. Okay. I would say. I think movies are.
So the Winnipeg Jets one, there was a Top Gun one that never saw the light of day.
That's a heartbreaker.
I
think that, and actually that's a good point to say. When we were talking about like your emotions tied to the team, your content's also tied to the team in the same way. So in that situation. We made like a Top Gun hype video for
Winnipeg Jets.
the Winnipeg Jets. However, Vancouver had COVID for 2 weeks at that point, so they hadn't played a game. And then their first game,
Winnipeg.
No, because let's say like Winnipeg was Friday, we played Vancouver on the Wednesday. Okay. But Vancouver hadn't played a game in 2 weeks up to that point. And
this is during the Canadian division.
Yeah, during the Canadian division, and so you think like, it's a pretty big trap game, right? But the narrative is that we're gonna like stomp these guys, but we already lost a few games before, and then when we lost to like Vancouver, it's like we have no business.
It was during the mid-yearly Leafs 18-wheeler off the cliff.
We were off the wheels for a little bit.
I think that happens every year.
I think it happens every team has to go through that.
Yeah, you need to.
You have to go through. Continue on. So that was heartbreaking, but like that, you also get that too. Like I remember like. After my first year of Ticats, I started making this documentary on the year. So for the whole offseason, I was trying to make like this 10-minute episodes, 30-minute, like 3-part documentary. And I showed like the first episode, and they're like, we can't show this. Like, it's because like, we know where it's going, and the story starts super negative. They're like,
I mean, no, and I think as a storyteller, you want to say that, but the team might be like, I remember like for me, like one thing like that, like with the women's basketball team at Ryerson, they went from like losing the final 2 years of COVID, went undefeated back to back, like, sorry, not back to back, but 2 different championships undefeated. And I always wanted to make a hype video starting with what happened.
Yeah.
But then, they're like, no, let's not. And it kind of sucks, but a lot of things
as a storyteller
you want to. But I think you need to kind of bridge the gap between you're a storyteller, but you're also working for somebody, and you have to.
I think it's like it's getting better, like with a lot of teams too. Like so with the Argos this last we did episode 1 with Halifax, but we lost 2 pretty bad games. We got like absolutely thumped by BC, and then we lost in the final seconds by a missed field goal against Montreal. So
shout out Boris, man. Okay, Boris is the GOAT, though.
Boris is the GOAT. It was tough scenes for him, but it's like we knew we were starting to cut this after we beat Sask, and it was like a big win for us. But Sean Bowen, like the other producer with the Argos with me, he was adamant, I was adamant too. I was like, you have to acknowledge like the rise. Like it's not just like, hey, we went to Halifax, we had some oysters, and we fucking killed the Rough Riders. No, it's like, we had like 2 really tough weeks. This was like a turning point in the season for us. So instead of showing it, Sean and our Jen Bradbury, they just footage, and it's like footage I fucking hate. It's like players getting in a plane. Like it's like you shoot it, but I'm just like, I fucking hate this. We just put the audio calls underneath, and we showed the player, like a player that was impactful in that game as they're getting in the plane. So like when it's like, and it goes right, we were showing Boris getting in the plane. Like you have to have the hero story, I guess. Sorry, that was a massive tangent.
Oh no, that's fine. No, it went towards the original question. One thing I kind of want to backtrack a bit here because we went on a tangent. I didn't want to cut any of that off, but to backtrack a minute here. We never really, and I think this is something people are going to want to know because I think the number one question I get, and I mean, I don't necessarily know how to answer this question, is how do you get to a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs? Like people ask me out there, how do you get to the NHL? How do you do it? And I'm like, I still haven't. I'm here. I'm like a baby. I just walked out. I'm here. But how did you? So you were the Ticats, and how did you end up with the Leafs? Like, how did that come up? Like, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, that is the apex. Arguably the apex of the hockey world.
It's definitely a tale, and I'll try and do it as short as I can. So it was my 4th season at the Ticats. Kind of already at the previous seasons, I had interviewed with the Chargers and the Jets, the fucking St. Louis Blues, and visa stuff. It wasn't working out, and I was getting frustrated. I kind of felt not that I was too good for the Ticats by any means. I just felt I'd done everything I wanted to do at that level. So the 4th season starts. we start 0-8. It's a terrible goddamn season, and I was like, we need our Labor Day is a massive part for especially in the CFL, but in Hamilton, it's like the second coming of Christmas. So I was like, I'm gonna make my magnum opus here. So I spent like 8 days never leaving the office, and I made just probably one of my favorite pieces I've ever made for a brand new opening for Labor Day. It was like 3 minutes.
Was
like,
it the one with the runway one?
Runway one. It was like 3.5 minutes long, and I like show my boss. He's like, it's a little long. I'm like, it needs to be. Like, I think we need something needs to change. Ends up through a friend. I was talking at that time with Clayton Hansler. He was running All for One with TFC. Not even looking for a job. I was like, how do you do documentary? Because I think that's the next step I wanted to do. He shows it to Kevin Mones, who is the creative director at MLSE. Kevin Mones, I guess, was impressed because he was like, how long did it take him? He's like, it's all he did in like 6 or 7 days. He's like, holy shit, kind of thing. So Kevin Mones calls me. I go down to the Fox, which is one of our frequented bars, I would say, at
the watering hole,
at 50 Bay Street. He invites me down there, and I'm talking to my girlfriend, and she's like, oh, you think he's gonna offer you a job? I'm like, no, I think it's like, he said like kind of like freelance work. So I was like, I'll see what the hell it is. Go in there. We did not talk about work for like 2 hours. I think we just talked, because he's a Patriots fan, I'm a Titans fan, we just talked about football and shot the shit. Like 4 hours later, you know, we've had a few, we're out for a cigarette, and he's like, so you want to come work with us? And I was like, oh, I guess. He's like, it's a motion designer. And I was like, what the fuck's a motion designer? But I was like, you know, something different, I guess. Like, it'll at least get me in the door, and I would work on all the teams. I got a call like 2 days later. He made the money work, and I put in my 2 weeks, I think, the next day. And I think I took a bunch of vacation. So I only worked like 3 more days of the Tie Cats.
Wow.
But then I showed up at MLSE. I didn't really, like, I thought at that point, and when I was talking earlier about Pride and Envy Will Kill You, I thought I was a guru at After Effects. I learned.
You got humbled real quick.
I got humbled real quick. I started, and so I got hired in a bar effectively, and I show up, and I only know 2 guys there, and they're both like at a conference for the week because I started on a Thursday. So I was like, they sat me at a chair in like the pod, introduced myself to everyone. They're like, oh, you're going to be making TFC's AR tickets. And I was like, what the fuck is AR?
This is even 20, like, what year is this?
2017 or 2018.
So AR's barely been a thing.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Like, oh, it's gonna be like tickets to animate when you scan. I was like, holy shit. So like, I'm freaking out. So they're like, I make the first one. I'm thinking I have to make all of them. So this project, there's like, you know, pre-comp 151, like it's just a mess. Finish the first one, they like it. Oh yeah, that's great. Okay, so you can just give that project over to this other guy we're bringing in to like render out the rest of them. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is a mess of a project. So this other guy comes in, and I could tell, like, he was like, what the fuck is this? So long story short, worked at the motion studio for a long time, got humbled, learned a lot, great people in there.
How did you go from motion studio to producer?
I was always very adamant, even at the beginning. I was like, I definitely am down to come in and like be an ideas guy and do motion stuff like that, but like my aspirations are to be get back to producing and being a video content guy. So I think it kind of started with we bought the Argos, and they just kind of like, no one.
That's a playground.
Yeah. They're like, Taylor, here's the fucking keys, make wherever you want. So I made the opening video for that, and like I think it impressed a few people. And then I think around November, it was cool as well because like we were working on the creative, like not that I was designing anything, I was more of like just building stuff that other guys were designing, but like we were building the creative for rappers when they won the whole thing, which I thought was cool. Like a lot of the tips and tricks I still use to this day. But I think around November, December, a posting went up, and I talked to my boss, and he's like, oh, do you know anyone? I was like, honestly, me. I would love that job. And we talked, and then like honestly, in a month later, he's like, yeah, come on. And I was like, holy shit. Like when you grow up as like, not to make this like super like rural Canadian, but like when you grow up, I grew up in a town of like 900 people. I'm not a hockey player, but I grew up in like a hockey town. And like, I don't know, it's like a pinch yourself kind of moment where you're like, holy shit, like I'm a producer for the Toronto fucking Maple Leafs.
I mean, I had that moment this year with the NHL. Yeah. I'm an immigrant, but I grew up watching hockey my whole life.
Exactly.
And then I'm like, holy shit, I'm at the Stanley Cup final. Exactly. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
You're experiencing something that like 99.9.9.9% of the population will never experience. Yeah. And you're like, so it was a massive moment probably, and then kind of like what I was talking about later, they put me on broadcast. I had no idea what I was doing, just kind of fake it till I make it. Got lucky enough to do an opening video. They liked that.
The first video I ever made for MLSE, it was, I don't remember how I got roped into this. All-star photo videos for the Leafs. This was like 2019. because my first year.
I remember them.
Yeah, you remember them.
Yeah.
And they're like, "This is kind of what we want you to make," and they show me something. I'm like, "How the fuck am I supposed to make that?" Yeah. And I think faking it. I pulled something out of my ass. I don't remember what I did. I looked them up on Facebook because I saved them on Facebook.
You're nice.
I'm like, this is the first. I gotta save this one somewhere. And it was like purely like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I when I got hired at MLSE, I'm like, I'm not qualified for this.
No, 100%.
And I'm like, and they're like, I just remember through my interviews, like they're like, oh, like what do you want to do? And I'm like, I'll really do anything. Like I didn't even know what. Like they're like, what's your rate? I'm like, I don't fucking know my. I don't know my rate. Like I'm a student. Like
I'll work for free.
I'm here just like so. Like I just remember that fake it till you make it moment. Like I'm just like I'm gonna figure this out.
I think there's like. If you break the whole thing up, there's like the fake it till you make it moment and like, God, I'm too good for this place. Like the point, like the section that where you're like, I'm right where I'm supposed to be is about like 1% of time. Like you go from like it feels like you're perpetually in like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then like 3 days and then it's like, I'm too good for this place. Like I think but like kind of like in the creative thing, like I'm constantly, and I'm thinking you're in the same way, like, I'm constantly a set where I'm like, fuck, everyone's getting better than me. Like, you know what I mean? You always have to.
I think like even for myself, like to a degree, it's like, I think whenever I make something good, I'm on Twitter and then you throw up one of your fucking videos and there's fucking like mountains and like sea things coming out of the sea and it's a Vancouver hype and I'm like, fuck, I gotta make something.
Yeah.
He just did this. I gotta fucking do this. And like, I see people do sick stuff all the time. And like, I think that's a good thing. I think that's like a good, like, I think when you lose that drive to be better, and I'm not saying like, I'm trying, like, I want to be the best. Like, I want to be one of the best people to do this. That's a confidence thing. But I think it's good to see other people's work and be like, hey, I need to take another.
Well, you see a little thing like we were talking about earlier about like shooting from like the 200s.
Yeah.
During the playoffs, like you see little things you pick up. Because I don't know where I saw Pixel Sorter first. I actually
that's your shit.
I gotta stop that though. Now
what you got me into it, and I got into it. I'm way too deep into this world where I'm like,
yeah. And it gets to a point where I think my worst trait is I develop these little like tricks and things,
so do I,
and then I use them as crutches.
That's you know what I mean? At the NHL this year, like my whole thing this year was like, if I used Pixel Sorter in one video, I tried my goddamn hardest
to not
use it in the next video. Yeah. But then sometimes I'm like, this cut sucks. You know what would make it better?
Yeah,
Pixel Sorter. Import that thing.
Roll it on. Throw up a CRT lift.
This isn't.
You know what I haven't used in a while? Leaf color. Fuck it.
You know what I haven't like just chromatic aberration. Yeah.
I hate.
I love it. One of yours. I love it. I think this is the one thing that if you did it forever, I don't think anyone would blame you. The only blue, like it's just the blue. That's everything else is black and white, and you keep the blue. I fucking love that.
I mean, it's like the simplest effect too,
but
right?
It's so clean.
Yeah, it's clean, and like I think I've done, especially. So again, that Kevin Moens, the creative director. We were having a chat one time. He's like, it is psychotic, like how much our blue changes from piece to piece. Yeah, really shot if you think about it, because you're going from like something like that, our blueprint team shot, to broadcast, to like a cell phone footage. It's like three completely different blues.
The hex codes are everywhere.
Yeah, hex codes are everywhere.
Out the window.
So I think like obviously it doesn't work with most shots, but usually when I go through, I'll do a first pass before adding any effects, and I'll just use change to color in After Effects, and I just like try to make all the jerseys like in the same realm.
That's a small detail that makes a big difference.
I think it does. It just like kind of makes you it feel a little more on brand. I would say that's like my only knock on like some content I see where it kind of feels like the coloring is all over. Like,
and that's the hardest thing. I think from my perspective, like I now understand what you go through working with fucking broadcast footage.
Yeah.
But except like you work with mostly Leafs broadcast. I'm working with broadcast footage from like 10 different teams in one video, and some are too green, some are too magenta,
100%.
Some are really yellow, and I'm like, and it's the hardest thing, but it's part of you is just like, I need to make this all look similar.
The 55 goals in 55 seconds video.
Oh yeah, great video.
Thank you. That was a nightmare. I loved it. It's one of my favorite ones I've done, I think, and I want to do more of that stuff this season. But exactly what you're saying, where like, you know, you get all 55 goals, only half of them happen in our building. The other one, like, you know, Philly's like kind of like orange, like there's like the coloring, it blows my mind. Like,
and you take the time to make it look,
to make it like even like just at least like in like the same realm, you know what I mean, of color. But yeah, that one, I remember like I showed the first cut of that. I only had like 52 goals in or something like that, and
not a big deal, just 52 out of 55.
But anyway,
more to go.
But it was like already 57 seconds, and I remember like one of the comments was like, "It's too fast." And I was like, well, I still got a wedge like 3 more in here. Like,
it's a couple empty netters in there.
And cut 2 seconds. But like, it was a good challenge. So they got to the point where, you know, I was like, okay, how the hell am I going to do this? Because I wanted to stay in linear order, but like somehow be on a music cut. So it was like anything that's a tip is like turning in 12 frames kind of thing. So sometimes those projects, like that's why I like that project, because it was
the challenge.
Yeah, it was a challenge. Yeah, it's not like the flashiest thing I've ever done.
You beat us to it. Because I was like, I'm going to make this. I had the same idea. I'm like, I'm going to make a video with all 55 in a minute. And we were talking about it. And then he scored the goal. And we didn't have it prep. It was we were like we weren't sure. This was the kind of like when he slowed down a little bit, and we're like, there's like 15 games left in the season, and we're like, ooh, like Austin's kind of like not looking great. Like maybe he's not going to get the 6. It was 50, 60.
He was at like 50. Oh yeah, for the 60 goals.
60 goals. But we're like,
he did that like 2 games.
We don't really know. Yeah, and we don't really know. And then I'm like, guys, we can't do it. Like I'm in the office, and I literally said, guys, we can't do this. And we're like, why? And I'm like, the Leafs beat us to it. And I'm like, I know who fucking did this. And I'm like, God damn it, I can't do this now.
I remember like, we were planning for it.
You have to.
But we planned like, you know, we were like, it'll probably happen in about 2 weeks, and then he went on a fucking tear.
Oh yeah,
and
he scored.
Like, shit.
Yeah, he was like at 48, and then all of a sudden, I think he was out for a few games. Yeah. And then like, boom, like hat trick. 2-goal game, another hat trick.
It sucks how the season ended, because I think it like how the season ended kind of overshadows that, but like of how massive a deal that was. I was shooting it was like a mother-daughter hockey camp by Darcy Tucker and Rick Five. So I'm in.
Who had the Leafs record for most goals in the season?
Yeah. Darcy Tucker. No.
Rick Five. Yeah.
But
I think it'd be Darcy Tucker.
No. I was in the room miking them up, and they were like talking about it, and like Rick Five was like, I really, really hope he, like, I'm just hoping he gets to it. And this was like a few years earlier, like a year he didn't hit 50, but like, it's psychotic when you think about it. Like this team that has like so much history, been around forever, and there's like only 3 of them, like before Austin, there's only 3 of them that ever did it. So it's like,
and this 24-year-old kid from Arizona comes in and blows the doors out the league.
I love little stupid sports stats like that. It's even with the Argos. So Mac just became the 5th all-time yardage for a quarterback with like 11,000.
In the Argos?
Yeah.
Jesus.
But like,
he's only been on the team for 3 years.
I know. And that's where it's not really like, you look at it, it's like where you look at the team and you're like, yeah, like the Argos have never really, like, they've had great quarterbacks, but they don't keep them for long periods of time.
It's like well, the CFL turnover, like you're not giving guys like a 7-year contract.
No,
like you're giving them max 3.
Yeah, guys like Cavillo and like Ricky Ray are few and far between. You know, even Mike Riley left.
Unicorns.
Yeah, absolute unicorns. So
Bo and Calgary, like.
I think Bo's a fraud. Big fraud energy by Bo right now. I'm a degenerate Argos fan now. It's also like, because like, you know, you get like, when you leave, like, let's say you're an accountant and you leave your job and you can't really get back at your old job, even if you like the place. Like, I still love the Ticats. Ticats, like,
but there's always a little something extra.
I want to, like, I definitely
eat the wheels off them.
Yeah, like I love the Ticats. I love Hamilton, but fuck them. Like, when it's football season, I want. I posted last year the hype video, and I was like, nice little poetic thing, like, yeah, it meant so much to me, but like,
I remember that.
But like when it's like when we play them, I want to fucking bury them on and off the field. And like I had a couple
couple buddies,
couple like football ops guys come to me, he's like, oh, it's you're talking some shit. And I was like, I hate when people shit talk after something happens. The best shit
before.
Yeah, the bet like you have no balls if you're shit talking afterwards.
Yeah,
that's like Michael Jordan is the goat of shit talking. It's like he being in street clothes and shit talking before anything has happened. Yeah, like who? Yeah, fucking guy can chirp after you've won. Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
we got fucking like starched that game. I think we lost like 40 bones or something like that. It was terrible. Let me ask you a question. Editing. What's your vibe? Are you a music guy, podcast guy, a movie guy, or dead silence guy when you're editing?
Okay, like when I'm like pulling selects, am I like if I'm just pulling selects and trying to find I got music going. But if I'm editing deep, I probably have something in the background, like a TV show, a movie. I just like having the ambient noise. If I'm really deep into something, I'll just. Why? What are you?
I'm Nathan. So like, I don't know if you do this part. Nathan's my partner or was my partner.
Maybe I'll put this
all my stuff. But I like flexed up. Same thing. So selects. I usually throw like a TV show or something on in the background. I never put on anything that I haven't seen before. It's like a big thing.
Yeah, because you don't want to miss anything.
Yeah,
it's just something there.
It's just comfort food for
for your ears.
For something else, or if I'm like, I don't know, if I'm paying I'll watch it for 5 minutes and then I'll get back to it. So selects, I'll usually watch a TV show. When I'm cutting, I usually watch a movie that I've seen 100 times, but I'll turn the music off, like all audio off, and just do subtitles. And then when I get to my After Effects phase, which is usually like sometimes with these hype videos, that's like most of the process. It can be. I usually switch to like death metal, and that's
why death metal?
Because it's usually really quick and high energy. Like Bring Me the Horizon's a big one I listen to, so I find it like it keeps my heart rate going. And
it just keeps you fired up.
It keeps me fired up, but also makes the pace. I want these things to feel chaotic at times.
Yeah, okay. So you put yourself in that really stressful situation.
Yeah, it's like when I did the St. Pat's hype, even though it makes no sense, I watch Braveheart in the background just to give me like the vibe.
But I think that's like that shows you like how you're creatively inspired.
Yeah, I think it's a massive thing. Like we're not making films here, but like you can be inspired by films. Like the Inception, like honestly, that like Hans, the Inception, like blah blah, like I've heard that 4,000 times since in every single team's videos. I still love it. Like you know what I mean? Like
sick. I kind of want to touch on within the similar realm. I think what I've always wondered, and I've only gone to peek behind the window of what these edits look like. Because I remember we were on Zoom during the pandemic, and I asked you how you do this certain effect where the players like. They kind of glitch the color, but not the player. You know what I'm talking about?
Like it was like a wedge with like pixel store where it's like coming off just the player. Yeah, only coming off the jersey.
Yeah. So I remember you like, oh, let's get on Zoom, whatever. Got on Zoom, and you showed me your project. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So, and I think like I put up that question on my Instagram story. And one of the questions was like, how the fuck does he do this? So can you walk us through your workflow, like from beginning to end, like. You how do you pick your music? You get into After Effects or Premiere. Like how do you cook this from the start?
Before I get into that, I would say like before it was me and Nathan.
Yes.
So what was great about that, different than so a typical producer thing is producer like tells you what you're doing. Here's the shots. This is what I'm thinking, and the other eds. I'm a terrible producer at everything that you're supposed to be as a producer because I'm not organized for shit. I like having hands on stuff. So we would just go 50-50 on these things. Nathan would usually focus on the audio bed. Like we'd find a track we both liked and then he'd start building the story using broadcast calls and like, welcome to downtown Montreal, the old forum and like that type of stuff. And then we lay out like, okay, well, this is going to be the start that players come in here, hockey action here, end card here.
And you'd write it on the screen.
Yeah,
because I got that from you guys. Was like typing like intro player walking.
I think that's it's such a. I've started doing that. I don't know when I started doing that, but it's such a massive help.
Absolutely.
And also like in terms of the approval process, like sending it to people. But so every open I do now, like I'll make a layout. And even with open now, because I used to be in the motion studio, I'm like, okay, here's where like the LEDs are gonna go crazy. Here's where they're gonna slowly raise. Projection here at this point. There's nothing on screen. You're seeing the audio and how the story's gonna be laid out. Now, since Nathan's moved on to bigger and better things because he's a selfish prick. Now it's and I do have people that work with me, but now I'm very much more. Even with Brandon Ferguson that I brought on last year and Ben Dartnell, it was very much. Like they would cut their things and then send to me, and I would do like the After Effects end.
The sauce.
So the sauce at the end of it, which I used to do with Nathan, but now, especially when I'm doing my own stuff. Audio first. I listen to I waste so much goddamn time listening to tracks.
But you have to because it's the hardest part.
It's the best part. If you have a shit, I don't care. You can have Martin Scorsese making a hype video, and if the track sucks, the video sucks. That's fact. So I usually
audio is the most important thing people forget about.
Yeah, I have a notepad in my book where I just like on my phone where I'm just constantly making like concept ideas for these different teams. Especially it's tough right now because the teams themselves aren't set. You know what I mean? Like the actual roster. You kind of need to know what the roster is going to be. Like if I made a hype video like 2 weeks ago on Calgary, it probably would be focused on Johnny Gaudreau.
But now it's Jonathan Huberdeau. And
now things have changed, right? So now that's a different storyline.
Boston, you don't know who's coming back. You don't know what's going to go on.
No idea. So usually get the audio track. I lay out the text of where I think things could, not that I have to, but lay out just for my own sanity where things are going to go. I make my selects. I usually make about 14 different sequences where it's like broadcast melt, ISOs, big hits, dirty plays, players walking in, scenics. I go to YouTube. If we're playing Boston, I type in Boston 4K, download 400 YouTube videos just to get any sort of drone shot that we've never seen before, if that makes sense. Like even just like there's one video I think we did against Montreal, and I found this YouTube video of these kids that went out to Center Island during the winter and were skating around on the ice. And I just took like a 3-second shot of that, just of like them like skating, and there's like the whole Toronto skyline in the background. I was like, fuck, sick, cool. It's 100% not legal, but like I'm doing it. Like,
but it's only on screen for some reason.
Yeah, no one will know. They actually commented, it's like, oh, this is sick. I was like, thank God they're not like fucking, we're gonna sue them. So usually make my selects. I start filling it in. I think my biggest thing I say to editors that I'm dealing with is just fill the fucking timeline. Like, you do, like, the most stressful part I think in any project is when you have holes.
Yes.
I'm a big like start in the middle guy.
Same.
Because starting a video is the hardest part because you need to catch someone's attention.
Yeah.
But it's easy to start halfway through. But then it gets stressful when you're like, how do I end and start this? Or patch these holes where I don't know what goes.
100%. And that's where, like, if you took like my rough cuts, like the point where I fill the thing out to where it's done, they don't even look remotely similar other than the audio. Because usually I just like having the whole thing out, fill the timeline, I airdrop it to my phone, because that's where 99.9% of our content, unless I'm working on open, even I do the same thing with open, but I put it on my phone, I take a break for like 5-10 minutes, I watch it a few times on my phone, I'm like, okay, I got a vibe of like what doesn't work and what does work. I go back, I make my actual cuts, I kind of have an idea in my head, I don't make notes of it, but like on the timeline, but I'll make notes beside me of like what effects are going to kind of go where. And then it kind of splits depending on the project. So I'll have my export. I don't color in Premiere unless it's like a fix, I guess. Like if it's like a drastic white balancing issue, I'll export the whole thing high res like an MXF. I bring the whole thing into After Effects.
The whole export.
The whole export, and then I make a comp, and then I pre-comp that comp and call it clean. So now if I go back and so basically I'll have this comp that within it is a comp of just the export, and then I just like make little pre-comps of that, like isolate the shots, do the effects shot per shot.
So you don't make the effect, like you're not bringing
individual
each
clips
shot. You're bringing the whole. Okay, see, here I was thinking like this guy's bringing the whole goddamn project. So you're cutting it in Premiere and bringing it all into After Effects
as an export,
as one straight line.
And I do it that way. So if there's an audio change or if I make a massive change to the cut, I can just swap it into After Effects, like that, replace that clean here file, and it just updates throughout. Because like some effects aren't shot specific, I guess. So if I do like a bunch of glyphs, we have a shot of like Nazem Kadri like taking a shot. I have a bunch of graphics on him, or like a color fill or something like that, or a key. If I put another hockey shot in there, it doesn't change. It'll still work. You know what I mean? So 90% of the time, if I make drastic changes, I keep it, just update that clean, and it'll just update throughout. Another thing I do also in After Effects, so every time I make like a logo animation or a text animation, I have this one comp I call a control panel, which I learned in the motion studio. So we used to make player cards. You're not going to go and like, this is my stupid brain when I was at the Ticats. Like when I left the Ticats, all their After Effects projects, they were all like this. You had to go through the project and individually find each text comp and like update each.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
That's what I still do.
No, it's a fucking psychotic move. Now I do it where I link everything to one comp. So it says text, away team, away city, home team, home city, a comp with the home logo, a comp with the away logo, a comp with the home logo black and white, a comp logo with the away logo black and white. No, it's a pain in the ass to start, but now I build, every time I start a project, I use that. So instead of, so like when I start a project, so this is even before the premiere, I would say, before I even have a concept for the project. I know we're playing St. Louis on Friday because they're a bunch of like, I don't know, we're doing them. I'll go to the After Effects project. I'll update everything so everything says I'll make that comp so it says St. Louis Blues, their logos, and I'll just click render. Like, I'll throw everything I've ever built. It updates everything. So I'm not going into in these individual products, and now I have a base of those, you know, my crutches of effects. It renders all out. So now before I have the cut, I already have 80 effects that I use in previous videos, and I don't actually I put them on the timeline, but not to actually use. I'll still apply them in After Effects, but now I kind of have like a base spice level before. So I kind of like, I guess like probably like a 80-20 rule, where I'm probably going to be 80% of stuff I'm using is stuff I've already used before, and then, but that saves me time to make some new stuff, I guess, if that makes sense. So I'm not like approaching each video, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take 4 new text animations.
You have it preset.
I've got stuff like already built and
to save time.
Yeah, 100%, because it's psychotic. If I had to remake like every single time, I would make about 3 a year.
I gotta see what this is one day.
Oh no, I'm a fucking idiot with it. Like there's like projects everywhere. Like like I got like a pretty solid iMac now, like iMac Pro, and it's still like an 8 to 10 minutes to open that project, like, because I have it, it's been the same project for like 3 years, and I delete stuff like as soon as it's something I haven't used in 3 games or 4 games, I'm like, see you later, get and it's mostly to get rid of me doing I don't want to keep on using it, kind of thing.
So when it comes to After Effects, you mentioned really early on in your career you learned to love it. And I think After Effects, like, for a lot of people that I like that comment on my stuff and I interact with on social, like, should I learn After Effects? After Effects is really intimidating. Like, I don't know what to do. How did you learn? I've barely, you know, it's like that iceberg analogy of the internet. There's only we only use 10% of the internet, and there's like a whole other, like, I've only used that 10% of it, After Effects. But you're diving into like the ocean. How did you learn to get comfortable with After Effects? Like, how did you just get immersed in it? Because I've seen your projects. I don't know half the stuff you do.
It started when my high school didn't have AC. It was older than Canada. I think it was like built in like 1865. So it's before even the Dominion. But we had a Mac lab, and we had a film program in grade 11, grade 12. So I started learning Final Cut Pro and Premiere there, and After Effects there. And at that point, I might go back to film, who knows? But at that point, I was going to go into film, and then Andrew, big After Effects, anyone that's in VFX has probably heard of Andrew Kramer with Video Copilot.
Yes.
Did his stuff. I started making short films in school specifically to try out new things he was doing. So there was like Action Essential, so it was like a massive amount of like explosions, fogs, gun muzzles and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I'm gonna write a Vietnam movie, fuck it. Just to not for any school project, just to
try stuff out.
And then it just kind of kept on building. And then, like I said before, I was doing like the credits for like our thesis films, and then I went to the Tie Cats, and they didn't have anyone After Effects. Like, oh, can you make like a Rules of the Stadium? I was like, okay, I'll have some fun with this, and it just kept on kind of building up. It's a like for me, but like when you're talking about the iceberg, I think there's like, and I think this goes with everything, like where there's a point where you know nothing, then you start to know something, then you start to think that you know everything about it, and then you learn more, and you learn how little you actually fucking know about that thing. And that's like when I arrived at MLSC, I was like, oh, I know nothing about After Effects, because they were showing me stuff where I was like, I don't even know where you would, like, it was stuff where before I'd always go on YouTube or try and find a tutorial. Like, they were teaching me stuff. I'm like, I don't even know where you would properly learn this. Like, I don't even know how you would Google this problem. So it was great to have like
half of the stuff in your video. I'm like, what would I Google for that?
Yeah, like where would you start? And like a lot, and like I think a big it probably doesn't help when they see these hype videos. It's like they're like, oh fuck, I don't know if like the juice is really worth the squeeze sometimes, because it's like a lot of hours, right? But like you gotta think like there's a lot of hours in there too where I'm not fucking around, but like I might spend 8 hours on something that never sees the light of day because I'm trying something different with it.
Yeah.
But for people, like, I think every person I talk, and I told you this, I think like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I was like, adamantly, you have to learn After Effects. It will take your shit to a whole other level.
And it has. And I'm still like, I think I know something, and then I see you do something, or I see someone else do something. I saw someone make goddamn jersey swaps in videos. Yeah. I sent you that. I think it was LSU. Yeah. And I'm like,
it's insane. So
what the fuck? Someone they switched Joe Burrow from an LSU jersey to a Bengals jersey. I'm like, in a video.
Yeah,
and like in graphics design, like I know how to do that on Photoshop.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
A moving image.
So I think they're using lockdown for a lot of that stuff, which is something I've been trying to learn. It's like super footage dependent, I guess. Like it doesn't always work.
Is it like AI?
I have no fucking clue. I'm not like, let's be honest. Like I'm usually a few in when I'm making these videos. Like I think it's AI. It like tracks. It makes like a 3D map of your footage. So I've seen it with like a shirt, but like I've tried a few times and it's like mixed results. But like I think like with what people look at After Effects. So like now, I'm trying to get like I'm trying to learn Unreal Engine and Blender.
Oh, the 3D stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to get like beyond and like. Yeah, I know exactly how people feel with After Effects. That's how I'm fucking feeling.
It's
right
overwhelming.
Now.
It's scary.
It's completely overwhelming. Like I did, think like before we went to Halifax, one weekend I had a Saturday off, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna do like 3 or 4 hours of Unreal, and like at the end of it, I was like, I don't even think I can open the menu and like add a chair, like you know what I mean? Like
I can add the dummy, and that's it. I can't.
I spent an hour and a half learning how to move around, and like. But I think that's like so critical for people. Like I think
keep trying new things.
And it's kind of like what both of us do. Where I think the day and age of someone being like, I remember like when I was in school, and this is before your time too. Not to feel old, but like I remember in first year, they're like, "What do you want? Not be when you grow, but like what do you want to focus on?" Because they were trying to like put like whether you want to be a producer, an editor, a shooter, like cinematographer to be nice. And like I never really wanted to be like I like doing a little of everything. I remember like my fourth year was like a fucking art director, which was a disaster. Giving me money is a fucking miss. But I think nowadays, if you're not shooter, editor, writer, like
you kind of have to learn how to do everything.
We were talking about it earlier. Like when I was growing, like I would fucking fail in this industry right now if I was starting today. Because now you have to have a social presence. You have to be able to shoot. You have to be. And I do those things. But like not to the degree people are doing now. Yeah. Like, and I fucking hate people.
Social media on its own, posting stuff is an art.
It is. It's 100%
captions, the right timing, the right image.
I thought all that crap was bullshit, and then
Adam Kruger. We talked
about
Adam.
What say, like,
Adam is a master at the meme game and chirping teams on social and making it fun, having a personality.
I genuinely think, and I'm not saying this because I'm his buddy, but if any person deserves to go in the CFL Hall of Fame that isn't a player or builder, it's Adam Kruger.
It's Adam Kruger.
You should go in as a builder.
Some of them, like my last year was my first year working with Adam. And if you're watching Adam, first of all, I miss you. Second of all, you're gonna come on this show.
Go fuck yourself.
We'll do a 3. We'll put all 3 of us here and we'll shoot the shit. But like, he would just have these crazy ideas. He's like, what if we did this for like the Thai cats? And I'm like, well, we did like he's like,
chirp videos, he was a professional.
He's like, Duck Hunt?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. He's like, can you put, because the Thai
Duck
cats.
Hodges.
Duck Hodges was,
it was Ottawa. Yeah.
Ottawa. And I'm like, yeah. And I did it. And it was hilarious. And I just put it together. He was the genius behind it. Like, I just don't understand how social people come up with that. Like the burns, the chirps, like everything. He had something for every team. Like he roasted the hell out of every CFL franchise last year because we walked over half the league.
But like, that's like, it's the same with social people, like across the board too. Like other people that I know from other teams, like Kruger didn't just walk around with an iPhone and post stuff.
He had a camera.
He also shot. He also edited. He also wrote. He also like creatively did creative writing and like made up concepts. Like
he essentially produced all the hype videos I made last year. He said yes or no, change this, change that.
Yeah, it's 100% at a point where like if you don't have to be a professional like at any one of those things, but if you can't like turn on a camera, like you're fucked. Like,
yeah, you need to at least know how to take a photo.
Yeah, like 100%. Like even last week when we were in Saskatchewan, I'm an idiot and didn't bring a second battery, and my camera was dying. I had gotten the game-winning touchdown, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna save the rest.
Pick 6, right?
What?
The pick 6?
Oh no, that was 2 weeks ago. That was the best shot I've ever taken in my fucking life.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, but I brought whatchamacallit. I was like, I'm gonna save the rest of my battery for the room so I can get coach's speech and all that because it's gonna be a good one. And then I just was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna use my iPhone for everything else. And like, I don't know, like I have no idea how to do iPhone photography and like all the social crap. Like that is, but like I at least know like I'm just gonna record forever and like hopefully something figures out here. Yeah. But yeah, fuck Adam Kruger.
Love you, Adam. Moving on from that, because we talked a little bit about After Effects there. There is one video I want to talk about. and it's one that you and I got to work on. You mostly put it together. I was the footage guy for you. The Kratos video.
Yes.
So if you guys aren't familiar, and I'll put it in the link down in the description, we did the Argos, the playoff hype video, and we wanted to do something really big. And I mean, you can tell the story, but we ended up having the voice of the God of War, Kratos himself, on it. So because that was like, for me, I didn't edit that piece. You did that, but I obviously my footage.
No, you were a massive help.
My footage was there. So, but I will always remember that. Just hearing that voice, I'm like,
no,
chills. But like, how did that come to life? Because it's not every day. Like, we've done voiceovers before. Voiceovers are a thing, and it's great. But when you have like a guy who voices the God of War, it's a once in a career opportunity.
100%.
So like, how did that happen? And what was like your mindset? Because like, I mean, you talk about your magnum opus being that High Cats video. I think this is very close.
I think I have.
And just my opinion, but like,
magnum opus, I guess, is a bad word. I think there's like, whether they're my best videos or not, there's like the videos that changed my career, I would say, or like were super impactful, pivotal. That's 100% one of them. So our linebacker Cam Judge, I had no idea there was any relation to Christopher Judge, who is his dad. We were concepting playoff video ideas and like, oh, who should we get a voice? And I think someone said pinball, and this is nothing against pinball. Pinball is like the ultimate motivator, but we've used pinball like
a million times.
We use them to death, unfortunately. So now that even this year, it's like pinball's still great to use, but like, you limit the amount that we use them, so it still has impact when you do. It's like Michael Irvin with the Cowboys. Like there was a period where I think they overused Michael Irvin, and now when they use Michael Irvin like more sparingly, it has more impact. And Kruger's like, oh, like I think jokingly, or I think he's like, oh, we could ask Cam's dad, and I was like, who the fuck's Cam's dad? He's like, Christopher Judge, the voice of Kratos. I was like, why the fuck am I learning about this in like week 19?
This is right before the playoffs.
Yeah. So
I remember you sending me the first audio cut.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa!
I was jazzed.
What is going on? Anyways, continue.
So Kruger asked Cam Judge, and I think Cam like was regularly calling, gets on calling his dad here and there. So I think on the next call he asked, and like he was like 100% in. He's like, amazing. Oh yeah, let's do it. So I was like, shit, I have to write the best thing I've ever written in my entire life. Like, so I think I spent like a day or two. Really like
the script was sick.
Yeah, like microscope, like line by line, letter by letter, making sure it fit the tone of what we were trying to do and something that would sound good for him. So it was 100% like, if we didn't have him, it wouldn't have been that, I guess. So we wrote something for him, and yeah, I had a couple calls with him, and I was like fanboying. I was like, this is so goddamn cool. He was like, oh, are you like a copywriter or something like that? Like he's like, I love the script, is like fantastic. And I was like, oh my god,
that's a God of War.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it was.
What was your reaction when he sent you the first audio cut?
I was dying. I probably listened to it like 45 times. I was just like, this is going to be the best thing I've done in a long time. And that's such a special feeling when you know you have lightning in a ball before you've even touched a single clip. Like I was like, so I had like, I think at that point, I had done like a scratch VO, and I had the track. I had nothing cut to it.
I remember
but, like the text. And then, like, I don't know, swapping his voice in, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be the best fucking thing. So we put together, you were helping with it, because you were shooting, because unfortunately for me, like, I switched to LEAFS, like Argos are unfortunately.
We didn't expect that to go that far.
No, Argos is my summer job, though.
Yeah.
Like, so you took over shooting, and then I came back for playoffs, but we cut the thing, and I'm like, this is fucking gonna, like, knock the goddamn doors off. And I get, like, I'm out for dinner, I think, and I got a text from Christopher Judge, like, hey, can we talk? And I was like, fuck. And I guess, like, he called, I don't know if it was an email or call, I can't remember now, but I stepped outside, and he was like, yeah, unfortunately, Sony owns the rights to my voice.
Imagine.
Till the next game comes out. And I was like, fuck. Because in my head, he's gonna be like, I'm so sorry, but unfortunately, I got to take my voice out. But he was like, yeah, just leave it in. Just don't like tag me or anything like that. I was like, what a fucking beauty. I think he came up for the game. I didn't meet him, but when the video played in stadium,
I got chills.
Same. Like I felt it like going up my spine. Boy. And it was like one of those. It was a magical season. Like a team that no one believed in.
Oh no, they were the Misfits.
The Misfits. That video played. It was snowing, and like I remember like I finally for the first time ever for a football game I had a 100 to 400, and like everything was just looking so fucking crisp. I was getting.
I remember that. Was that the East? No, they got a
East final. Yeah, it was East.
Bounced straight to the East final. Yeah,
I know. And like I think we put up 12 in the first half.
We played great,
and we played good. I remember me and Sean have our usual halftime cigarette outside Gate 5 where we talk about the game and either bitch and complain or get too much of fanboys. And we're out there and we're pretty good. And I was like, I don't like this is the worst I've ever felt being 12 up, just because I think 3 of those drives, like we were like the 2 or 3 yard line and like we took field goals, like we just didn't capitalize. And then Hamilton ran it back, and I'm not going to talk about what happened after the game. It was just like a heartbreak. Like it was, yeah. You feel for those guys, I think, like.
Especially because again they were the Misfits.
They were the absolute Misfits, and like that's where and it was such a tough year with COVID and everything you go through for those guys. Like that's where you feel so much more connected.
But you'll never forget that video. That was like
that was one of the best things I've ever done by far. Like it's like
who's your next dream voice actor?
Ooh,
if you could pick anybody to do a VO, who would it be?
I think I have 2. One, just because it's already been done. James Earl Jones did a hype video for Michigan. He's Vader, but he did a hype video for Michigan one year, and it was the spiciest shit I've ever seen. I was like, this is outrageous. I think like my all-time, like. It would be for the Argos especially. Like I've gone super into like the John Candy stuff lately, and like going through like his films, and I'm like, fuck, it would have been so magical if he like just was able to keep that team. But I would love to do like Jim Carrey, I think, or like even like maybe Martin Short. I think like Martin Short would be kind of cool. I'm like focusing on CFL, I would say.
Yeah, Jim Carrey would be cool.
I think Jim, because he was like a Toronto kid, I think it'd be cool to do him. I think an all-time. We were supposed to have. Tim McAuliffe for this year's playoff hype video. I think he would have been really cool to work with. And then
he's a huge Canadian football guy.
Oh yeah,
loves the college.
Oh no, that was for the Leafs for him. But it was like, and I get why because it was like, you know, you don't want to be
conflict of interest.
Yeah, 100%. Tom Hanks would be a cool one too. I don't know. What would your VO be?
I mean, we were talking about it at the league this year, and like we were like, do we do a VO? Do we not do VO? Like I don't really have a particular person in mind. Like, no one that screams to me like I would love to do VO with this person. I
actually have a good one because I was reading a story. Apparently, he was like a massive hockey dad growing up with his kids. Is Jeff Daniels, the other half of Dumb and Dumber. But have you seen him in like because he's like basically like come back to like becoming a serious actor again? I think he'd be electric. Or it's like the opening of the Newsroom. Have you ever seen that?
There's actually a guy. Sorry to cut you off. There's a guy. He did this. I can't remember his voice. I can't remember his name. He used to be the guy who voiced over 24/7, the NHL 24/7.
Okay.
Has a really deep voice. I can't remember his name, but he also did a few the Army versus Navy hypes.
Oh, nice.
You know who I'm talking about.
I know exactly.
He's. I can't remember his name. His voice is like. Mwah.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Ooh, I would love that.
It's like it's tough with the Leafs because if I had to do like our top 3 living fans, right, or celebrity fans, it's like Will Arnett, Bieber, Mike Myers, and like Shawn Mendes, and they're all talented.
Biebs wouldn't be. I mean, Biebs would be cool.
I think
he already made a jersey for you.
Yeah,
guys.
And Will Arnett did a good job when he did like the broadcast.
Even the Arkells.
But I think
they're so Hamilton.
Well, to be fair, once you have like Christopher Judge and like that baritone
there's
voice,
a whole
and like there's no like he does like don't get me wrong, he adds a little bit, but like when he picked up the phone, it's like it's that fucking low. I was like, holy shit,
that's so funny.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Tailing it back a little bit to the After Effects thing, what's one piece of advice you would give to anybody who wants to learn After Effects? What's like the number one thing like you want to? Like this goes out to everybody on my YouTube, TikTok, whatever, who says, how do I learn After Effects? This is your answer. What's the best piece of advice?
I don't want to give like the basic shit. The basic shit is, oh, fucking learn and watch your videos. I think fucking around is such a massive thing. I've learned so many little things.
It's a sandbox.
It's a fucking sandbox. And like, I'm just gonna rattle off like I don't know, like learning what the fuck keyframes do. Speed graphs is a massive one.
I discovered that like a year and a half ago. Changed my life.
Changes your life. What's the video Copilot plugin where it's
Saber.
like fuck Saber. I'm fucking over Saber.
But the shift one.
It's like
FX
FX console.
I love that.
Yeah,
Game
so
changer.
that's I would say I'll use that as my answer. FX console I think is the best thing if you're learning After Effects. All it is you can do command. It's like a plugin, command space. And it brings up like a little search bar for any effect within After Effects or expression. So instead of like you going and scrolling through all the effects, because it's overwhelming, I think, when you do stuff like that. To this day, I've worked with After Effects for like 15 years. I still like type in stuff. I'm like, well, maybe this is an effect. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just
like,
experimenting, going 100%. Out with it.
Okay. I would say FX console and learning expressions. I would say it's like once you start getting into After Effects, those are like eye-opening, I would say.
Amazing. Perfect. All right, we're going to move on to the last part of this, and this is something I'm doing for the first time, is I put it on Twitter and Instagram and stuff. So I got a few people who ask questions. I'm going to give you a few of these, just people who follow me and I guess are familiar with your work, did ask a few things. So let me just pull up these questions here. You have some familiar faces. I did give you a hint as to who, but we'll start with a few of them. Let me start with, how do you stay creative when working on a project for a long time?
I think taking breaks is massive. I think I've told you that a bunch of times where I think when you're early in your career, you were like constantly are like, oh, I need to work like 80 hours a week or I'm lazy kind of thing. Bruce Arians, I think, always like is one of my favorite coaches in the world. Where he's very against the culture of like coaches staying till like 4 a.m. watching films. Like when you're done, you're done. Like you're just killing yourself. So anytime like. The project could be due at 9 a.m. the next day. Like if I'm not feeling it, I'll just walk away and play Fortnite or like go for a walk for an hour. I think that's a massive part. And like, I think the biggest thing, ideas do not come 9 to 5. I have said this for you, especially with like the whole like COVID and all that, like having Zoom meetings. Like I 100% think I would accomplish way more with so Tony Ruggiero, he was like our art director for these. Yeah. I think if you put him in a room or at the Fox with like 12 beers, we will accomplish more in 3 hours than you would do in like 4 weeks of Zoom meetings. Just like, you know what I mean? Like getting out of the office, like shooting the shit and be like, oh, this would be kind of cool idea. Like I was listening to Metallica today. I was like, oh, you know, it'd be kind of cool. Like we did like maybe a Stranger Things, like fucking like in-stadium hype video for the Argos kind of thing too. Yeah. Like that Metallica where he said like, I'll just like change the red to blue kind of thing. Like if you're relying
getting into new spaces, refreshing. Yeah.
If you're relying on your ideas coming in 9 to 5, you're fucked. Yeah, like best ideas do not come in the office. They come out when you're like fucking around and doing different shit that has nothing to do.
Yeah, no, I get my best ideas. Sometimes like I'm just like in the fucking shower and I'm like, this would be a sick video idea, and I'm like,
I have a notepad,
I've gone into the habit of just writing shit out.
You have to.
And I put it on my wall.
Yeah, because you'll lose it. And like I've lost like a bunch of ideas over the year, but like anytime I have an idea, I just jot in there. I have a to-do list, and then it's same with like tracks. If I hear a good track, like and I'm not using it for what I'm doing, I always save it and like use this for the rainy day kind of thing.
Next question: what are some struggles you faced in your career, and what advice do you give to someone who's like younger and trying to come up?
I had this is not a good take. I feel like I burnt myself the fuck out early in my career. I felt that every day was not given. You had to earn your right. I had to prove myself every single fucking day. If like there was no, and this is what I hate. Like when you think about it, like what I was talking about earlier about the Thai cats. Like I felt like every single video had to be a banger. When I really look about it, like none of those videos fucking mattered. One video got me a job with MLSE. That's it. Like
one video can change everything.
One video can change everything. So I think but especially in your career, fucking burn yourself the fuck out. So when you're 30 and you're established, you can mail a few in, if that makes sense. And I think mental health, and this is probably fucking gonna get canceled a little bit. I thought mental health was a bunch of bullshit for years, and I'm gonna be honest about it. Like I thought mental health was 100% people finding a way, like, oh, I don't want to go to work today. It's fucking mental health day. And then I started having anxiety. I went to the hospital, I think 3 times, because I thought, like, oh, fuck, I can't be mental health. I'm having a fucking heart attack because I don't keep care of myself. and I got the girl's like, oh, you're fine. Like, put the fucking EPK on. Like, I am not well. Like. And they're like,
too many bone shakers.
Yeah, it's 100% the bone shakers and the smoking. Like, I do not keep care of myself. And I ended up, like, I think after the 3rd time, eventually the doctor like pulled me back. There was like a psychologist there, like, no, you're having panic attacks. And I was like, oh, sick. Checks out. And then I don't know, I got that under control, but it kind of changed my whole fucking perspective on it. Like, like that's why I'd rather be honest. Be like, I was a fucking asshole before. I thought I was all bullshit, and then you start having yourself, and I was like, I had to really make a bunch of life changes. I would say, because I was treating every single project like it was life or death. I still do to a degree, but like Tegan, like I'm always like my partner Tegan, like I'll be like, I'm freaking out. I'm not gonna finish this. It's gonna be a piece of shit, and she'll always be like, you say this every fucking time. You always get it done. I was like, you're right. Okay, fuck it.
When is he dropping a masterclass on spicy content? I will buy this twice. Are you ever
Who
gonna
said that?
CNUS Media.
Oh, Corey.
Kornuska?
Corey Nuska, yeah. He's a very talented videographer, editor, After Effects guru at the Thai Cat. So he's
I'm familiar with him, yeah.
He didn't replace me. He came after the guy that replaced me. It's frustrating because you look at an old job, you want them to do worse than how you left it. Like, you don't want them to do too good, and like, fuck, he's like killing it. So I'm like, fuck you.
So is there ever going to be a masterclass? Are you ever going to release the secrets into the world?
So I had two thoughts about it. I thought about doing it for a while because I really like teaching. It's something I want to go back to one day. Like, that's why I love the Thai Cats, because I always bring in like interns and stuff like that.
The youngins.
I love that. It's my.
I mean, I learned from you. Everything I learned from you.
Yeah, I think it's my favorite thing. It's not like an ego thing. I like teaching, watching people grow.
That's the same with me. That's why I do this. Yeah.
However, I feel like every fucking video guy in the world now has a masterclass. So I thought about doing an anti-masterclass where, like, I'm gonna, like, not anti-masterclass, but like they're always like, you know, really well shot.
You want to make this shit?
No, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, first off, like, we're gonna grab 6 bone shakers. Okay, you're gonna open your project here. You're gonna have about 15 layers of pre-comps. Fuck it, delete it. Like, that's shit. Like, oh, I don't really like how there's not an effect after 3 cuts. Fuck it, pixel sort. We're just gonna copy that in. Here's 14 glitch effects. Just fucking scatter them. Add the ad blender. We're gonna go for a smoke break. Okay, we're back. Add a couple more glitch effects. Oh, this is a plain shot. Here's a fucking leaf color, and maybe just do like a time lapse or something like that.
I'd love that. You should 100% do that.
Oh, I'm not saying people are fake, but like when I see this stuff, I'm like, that's not me at all. Like, I'm not like I'm a fucking degenerate.
You've seen The Last Dance, right?
Yeah.
You remember that scene where Dennis Rodman was like, and you're gonna go like this? And
it'll be like that.
That's exactly like you're gonna this and that, and you're gonna go and you're gonna see him, and you're gonna turn it off, and then you're gonna option, and you're gonna
like. This is where you like, yeah, this effect, because this is where you add this fucking effect. Okay, next fucking question. Like, it'd be like that.
Honestly, I think people would buy that. I mean, for the mean appeal.
Oh yeah, I might even. I don't know. That it's I feel like. Now with Leafs and Argos, there is literally, like, that's the one thing I miss about the Thai Cats is I had an off season. I would go nuts like 6-7 days a week for the training, like 2 weeks before training camp till end of November. But then you get like some time off and you get a chance to recharge. And that's my own, like, one of my very few negatives about MLSC now is like there's not like a
off season.
There's no off season. We like me and Sean, like, we lost in Game 7, took Sunday, Monday off, and then we're like making content for the Argos Tuesday. Like, so
it's a quick turnaround.
No, it's a blast because I love the Argos and it's a nice change of pace, but you don't really get a chance to like, you don't get as much time as I did at the Thai Cats where like, you know, I can fuck off for 2 or 3 weeks and come back fresh, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Someone asks, do you have any tips for blending clips with fast motion? Like, I guess like they probably mean like quick cuts, like, or like blending clips that maybe don't work well together. Any tips for that? Add CRT Blue Effects glitch done. This is my strategy. Here's a peek into my 2 clips that don't match. Film burn. It's like a Band-Aid.
100%.
It's the lazy man's transition.
No, because like I think that's actually okay. So a good point is like where
film burn.
Some people think like they see an effect, I guess, and they're like, oh, that's a nice effect. I'm like, no, that's 100% just fucking covering something.
Oh no. Anytime you see a flash, maybe I'm hiding something.
Oh yeah, there's something. There's a problem. We did like one of my first projects. I was working on the TFC opening video for like 2017.
Yeah.
I think it was after the year they won it, or 2018, and we had green screen footage of them on like a turnstile, but like the key was not good. Like it was like you pretty much would have to roto it to get a perfect key, and like it was like fog, more fucking fog. There was like 8 layers of fog to cover up the imperfections of it. So, I think one thing with like changing speeds, because like right now I'm shooting like 120 for Argos. I never do ramps anymore. I find. Like unless I don't even have I can't remember the last time I did like a speed ramp. I usually
That's not really your style.
No, I say I'm 100% like cutting. Like if one clip like changes speed like 4 times, there's never a ramp to it. I think like I always like cut, like I find a piece of action or something that's happening in the clip that like works. Like if it's helmet on helmet, it's like almost like when the helmet, like the guy that's getting hit, like helmet goes back, that's when it goes slow motion. And then like when someone crosses the frame, that's when it goes speed. Like I don't really do ramps anymore. Not knocking ramps.
Okay.
I have no issue with ramps.
It's just not your thing.
It's not my thing.
That's fine. That's
yeah.
fine. Do the athletes you work with ever get excited about the content or bring ideas?
I think 100% in CFL. Like, because like, I don't like have interactions with the NHL guys other than like media days and like specific shoots. But with the CFL guys, like one of my favorite moments is we were in COVID the year last year. We were in Calgary. I spent it all night. Like I went and got like I think like 6 margaritas in Calgary because there was no beer store. And I spent like a gas station. I had like 6-pack of margaritas. Like, fuck it, this will do. Went back to my hotel room and I think till like 4 or 5 in the morning I cut a piece. And then we went down for team breakfast the next morning at like 8 or 9. And like I'm sitting there eating breakfast with like communications guy and the strength coach, and I'm hearing like everyone around the room like playing the video and like talking to everybody. I was like, fuck yeah, like let's go. Like
yeah.
And in terms of bringing ideas, with the Tie Cats, I was more closer with the team, I would say. So there was definitely more of that going. But like, I would definitely say when you're shooting, they're always like pitching ideas, and you're seeing more athletes
being way more open to it,
way more open, and also doing their own stuff. Mitch Marner does it like hype videos every year for playoffs. Like I'm sure he has a team that
he
does
has a guy.
it.
Even at the NHL, we have a team that we the players want the content.
Yeah, exactly, and I think you would because it's a new generation. Right now is the last 3-4 years has been changing the guard. So out is like Patrick Marlowe's and like Ron Hainsey's.
The old boys.
It's nothing against them. They didn't grow up with this.
Yeah.
And now you have the new guys in. We're like, oh, I am a brand. So in CFL, like we our one wide receiver, Curly Gins, had like a 70-yard touchdown, and
he has his own video guy now.
Yeah, his own video out, and I was like, fuck, like just take our footage. So like I sent one out today before I came here. I sent like my Mel. I was like, just send this to the fucking players if they want to cut. Like don't take the shitty export off Instagram, like where it's like 480. Like just take the actual raw stuff because that's how you build the game. I think if you have your players building your brand, you're off to the fucking races.
Yeah, and I think that's way more prevalent now. Last question: how do you make your videos sound spicy? Favorite sound effects, tips, and tricks?
I actually think that's my worst trait. Audio. I think. Kind of like what I was saying before. I think like sometimes you're lucky and you find a track in an hour, but like even if I find a track in the first like 10 minutes, I still look for another 2 or 3 hours. And I think a big thing that people do a lot is like let's be fucking honest. We're all using the same royalty-free sites. You know what I mean? We can't use real music. My issue with a lot of those tracks is they kind of become repetitive and they don't build anywhere, or like an intro of this part and so usually I think my best hypes are usually like 3 or 4 tracks wedged together with a pretty good soundscape built underneath. So like, and again, like this kind of goes with After Effects and everything. Since I was like in grade 12, I've been building this folder. I think I gave that to you, like the VFX super file kind of thing. And like over the years, if it's a sound effect, a track, like a piece of fog, a spark, like
you save it.
I save everything and I organize everything because you never know when you'll need this crap.
I have a little treasure chest in my hard
drive.
drive.
Like you legitimately never know. Like I have like 600 like pieces of fog footage that are keyed out. Like, will I use that? Never. But like, I'll eventually have a project where that I'll need that stuff. So like I'm a big believer, like just constantly be collecting. I could not, like, I would be fucked if I had to, like, if you took that away from me and I had to start a season. Yeah. I would have no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, always collect stuff, especially B-roll too. You never know when, like, you'll need it, kind of thing. Even with like, your fucking glitches, like I've collected, like I have 4,000.
Way too many film burns. Like I have like an infinite amount of film burns.
Your film burns are my
your glitch.
My glitch.
Yeah,
100%.
To wrap this up, I kind of asked this to everybody. What's your one piece of advice to anybody who's looking to break into this industry? Because it's hard, it's difficult. People ask me this all the time. What's your number one tip for anyone who's looking to get into this line of work? Hype videos, whatever.
Have a rich partner.
Do you hear that, Tegan?
Yeah.
You hear that?
Absolute sugar mama. No, I think, and I think this is honest. You have to fucking love sports. Because there is nothing appealing about this work if you don't. And I'm not talking like, yeah, watch a couple games. Like, you have to fucking live and breathe this shit. I hate what I do at times, but 99% of the time, I love it. I have worked about 3 days of my life since like 2014. Like, 3 of them I was making like a Wonder Bread, make your own craft commercial during COVID. Like, that's why I would say are work days where I was like, I fucking hate this. But like, I don't work. I haven't worked a day in my life since 2014. I absolutely live and breathe this stuff. And I think you have to do that. It's probably not great mental health wise, but like, I absolutely love it. Like, I love, I don't know. I never wanted to be like, have a basic ass job. Like, I get bored really quickly. Like, and I love, like, I don't know, like when I used to go, when I was with the Thai guys, we'd go out for dinner and like my buddies be like, oh, like complain about their week. Like, oh, I gotta do this presentation, or fucking I gotta do this TPS report, where the fuck it is. Like, oh, Taylor, how'd your week go? I'm like, fucking CJ Gable fucking tore his MCL. If that's the biggest worry in my life, I'm pretty good. So I think you gotta be passionate for it, and very much in your situation, both of our situations, like, it ain't gonna happen overnight. Like, so
like 4 years to get somewhere like the NHL.
Yeah, I can look back at my career and pick out probably 4 or 5 days that changed my entire life. So it's not your. Like,
I could say the same thing.
Yeah,
I could say the same thing.
There's no time limit on when those are going to happen, and you don't also have to stay in this forever. I think it's a young man's game, young woman's game. Like I feel like
you're 30. You're not that. Like,
I'm 31. No, and I'm fine now, but I'm like, could I see myself doing this
for the rest of my life?
Well, I would love to, but like
to the grave,
to the level that I want. That I'm like, I think it's like probably like a player. Like, if you're doing shit to you,
get into mid 30s, you're like,
no, like I even now I can't. Like, I used to be able to go like 4 hours of sleep and just go around the clock and be nuts. Now I'm like, I like, if I don't get 8 hours, I might as well be like blackout hungover. Like, I wake up like I'm useless creatively if I don't get 8 hours, and I'm like, this is gonna get worse and worse. And then and that's what I was saying earlier, where it's probably not a great take, but burn yourself the fuck out early in your career, like,
while you have the youthful body
and the time. Like, it was like, the older you get, like, I have like 4 or 5 weddings this year, and like the bachelor parties, and then you have stuff with your partner. Fuck it, I don't even have a dog or kids yet. Once we add those in the equation, like, you lose so much, not lose time, because you're doing all these things are obviously way more important than work. But when you have the time when you're young, fucking kill yourself, like, working, and like, just go nuts. I did it. I don't think it was like great for my health,
but it was worth it in the long run.
It was worth it in the long run, because you have it, like, when you can go, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be my piece of advice, I would say.
Last thing, where are we going to see Taylor in the next 5 years, in the next 2 years? Like, what's your next step?
So it's
what's coming up?
I would say it's 2-pronged. I love what I do. I grew up in Ontario, like a town an hour and a half from here. I remember my dad driving me down to Leafs games and stuff like that when we could afford it, and it's I think my first time ever driving the highway, I was driving to a Leafs game here. Like, the Leafs are a massive part. So it's I'll either be here doing what I'm doing, hopefully at a higher level, whether it's like, I would love to have a team, like not even a team, like
the Spice Squad.
Yeah, no, like young guys and girls that like I can kind of like show the way, and like, because I think it's a really brutal industry. Like, it takes, like, you have to get so fucking lucky to get, and there's so many connections in politics until you get an opportunity. It's really tough. So it's either, hopefully here, eventually winning a Stanley Cup, maybe multiple, that'd be nice. Or kind of one of my lifelong dreams was NFL films. I would love to work there one day. reality is like the older I get, the less I want to go stateside. So I think that one's kind of
pipe dream.
A pipe dream. Like it would have to be.
You never know though.
You never know. That would be a perfect situation. But I'll probably be here at the Leafs and Argos, and maybe not 5 years, but maybe like 10 years down the road, 15, 20, I don't know. Or even just like part-time while I'm doing the Leafs. I would love to go back and teach. Amazing. I would say that'd be nice. I'd also like to drop 20 or 30. We'll see. Let's see when the tapeworm comes in.
Anything you want to add? Any special mentions to the people out there? I don't know. No, nothing at all.
I would say one thing. And I think it's great now. And it's like our relationship. Like, and I think once you get in, you always give back to people. There's the fucking kids there, like, oh, give me a job. I'm like, go fuck yourself. But like, there's like,
no, yeah.
There was like, I didn't get here by myself at all.
It's the people helped you along the way.
Ty Cats. It was Matt Dorman, Matt Smiley, Maurice Grant. Then I got to MLSC, and I was fucking Kevin Briones, Kevin Mones, Paul Matthews,
Ruggs.
Beth Sherlock, Ruggs, and did they? They didn't like give me a job or like make like they didn't like like weren't pulling string, but like those people like had no obligation to help me out, if that makes sense. So pay it fucking back.
Yeah, pay it forward. Pay
it forward. Yeah, don't be a selfish prick. Because like I have like kids now. Well, there's like Fergie, and there's this one kid and this psychopath in Carolina. His name's Gavin Morris. He doesn't cut in Premiere. If you see that ADV guy.
I think I know who.
I'll pull up there. So I'm working with him. He's like, yeah, I cut everything in After Effects. I was like, you're a fucking psychopath. Like doing the shit you're doing, that is fucking psychotic. Like, and I'm like, I don't. And it was like when you're talking about shit, like I'm like, okay, I'm like, I have no idea how the fuck you do any of this. Like, he's like, yeah, I might get Premiere one day. I was like,
you should already have it.
No, but he, and that's the worst part. He's like fucking 20 years old. And I'm like, fuck. Like, I'm not doing the shit you're doing now at 31. Like, so. Yeah, always help out. I think there's a couple dicks in this industry, as we know.
I mean, yeah, but
the most part, everyone's pretty nice. So
yeah,
I'd say pay it back or forward.
I mean, like I said, like you're a big influential part of my career, and like I looked up
and vice versa now.
So like, I mean, I 100% agree with you. What's your Instagram? Where can the people find you?
At T Iannarilli, super complicated. So
I'll put it in the description down below here.
I would say I have about a 30% success rate. One last story. Just with that. So when I was at the Ty Cats, I was the manager of video production, so I was heading everything, and so I got a lot of nicknames. People call me like Tay, T, get Tyler a lot, which fucking sucks. Fucking hate that.
It's Starbucks.
But people at the Ty Cats like Marshall and those guys, they always call me Tiana. Because this happened not once but twice, where someone was applying for a job because my email address was T Iannarilli, and I got Dear Miss T Iannarilli, and I got that fucking twice, and I thought it was one of the funniest fucking things I've ever experienced in my life. As a male tailor, it's already a fucking tough go.
Yeah,
because it's not like you got fucking Taylor Swift and all that, and then when you get fucking Tiana, I was like, holy shit,
it's the end of the line.
Yeah, it's fucking over.
Amazing. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for coming on, having a few brews. If you guys enjoyed this, like, subscribe. You guys know the whole deal, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Go follow him. He's a psychopath, but go follow him. Good stuff. Okay.
Spicy stuff coming.
Bye.